Hello, everybody, and we are going in the Wayback Machine today to 2006, which, P.S., was 20 years ago.
That is insane.
A
2006 was
quality jump
yesterday.
off of my balcony. Yeah, it's one of those things. And again, I've said this before, and I will say it again. COVID really fucked up with our like sense of time. At least it did for me. In terms of like thinking about these
Definitely.
sorts of things.
100%.
But yeah, 2006 seems so far away, but also yesterday. So some key events. Twitter, RIP, launched in July of 2006.
Wow.
I don't know why I said it like that. 2006. Because I'm probably used to saying 2026. That's probably why.
We've been saying 20 since 2010.
Yes.
And that's 16 years
2006.
ago.
Oh my
Yes.
gosh.
Carve me out the door. Pluto was reclassified as a dwarf planet. Didn't it get unclassified since then? Or is
I
it
think
still a
it's one of
dwarf?
those things like science teachers can still teach Pluto as a planet, but it kind of astronomers, it's like, tomatoes are a fruit in the lab and a vegetable in the kitchen kind of a
Sure.
thing.
I feel
It's a planet, but astronomers are like, it's a dwarf planet. It's not really the same.
Wish you could see Matt's face.
They came up with a new term just so we could still call it a planet, but they didn't want it to be a planet anymore. Like, it's basically how I take the dwarf.
Pluto gets no respect.
planet.
It doesn't have
Yeah.
like cool rings. It doesn't have a sunspot. It doesn't, it's not bright red. Poor Pluto. No
You
respect.
can barely see it. It's way out there.
I know, it's like a speck. And then hopefully this is prescient for 2026. In 2006, Democrats regained control of the Congress halfway through George W. Bush's second term. Baruch Hashem is all I can say about that.
Yeah. Love that one. Yes.
We can
And
do that again.
We'll just leave it right there. Boom. In continued bad news, the top song of 2006 was probably one of the most annoying songs of the last couple of decades. Bad Day by Daniel Powter. Had a bad day. You heard it in every grocery store, in every CVS. I have nothing good to say about it. And also, is that a one-hit wonder?
I don't think he ever did anything.
Did he ever do anything else?
Not anything notable. Yeah, that's 100% mall song.
Yeah. Oh, that's yes. That's definitely like you're walking into Loft. You're walking into Chico's.
Yacht rock was a thing. I think mall rock needs to be a thing, and it's a thing that I need to throw into the garbage and never listen to in my life.
All the people who listen to our podcast who worked at Gap, I'm sure it was like on their playlist
Yes.
at the Gap for sure. Box office champs. What a variety of movies. Number 3 was Ice Age 2, The Meltdown. I am proud to say I've not seen any of the Ice Ages, including the real one, because I was not here. That's a very bad joke. It's a mom joke right there. Number 2 was The Da Vinci Code, which I have the pleasure of walking out of. I did read the book, but I hated the movie. It was awful. Awful. Yeah.
I saw the movie and then read the book, and I have to say I don't think I liked either of them.
No, I mean they both sucked, but the book was at least a little bit better.
The book was at least
The book was
fun.
a bathroom read. Every single chapter was about the size of a good dump on the toilet. Like,
I'm surprised that that's not how they categorize books. That's true.
I mean, every chapter was like the size of a newspaper column.
Yeah.
It was
you weren't
just,
bringing your phone to the bathroom in 2006, right?
No.
So you had
Just be careful, wifey.
alternate ways. And then in number 1, this is not surprising. Pirates of the Caribbean, Dead Man's Chest.
I don't know if I saw this one or not. I don't know what sequel this is. There were so many.
I've seen them all. Is this the one with the face with the
octopus face?
The octopus face, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I recently watched all the Pirates of the Caribbean movies again.
You did?
Yes.
What's it like now?
Still fun.
Okay.
Yeah. It's just a good ride. I mean, we are not watching great theater here, but like good effects, and generally a fun movie. And whenever older guy
Johnny Depp, Orlando Bloom.
No, other one.
Knightley.
No.
Jeffrey Rush.
Jeffrey Rush, thank you. I kept thinking Gold because Gold Rush, but I couldn't come up with the Rush.
Oh, okay.
Whenever Jeffrey Rush is there, like he is chewing through the scenery and having the time of his life.
He bought his summer house. He was having the ball.
Yes.
I mean, I would too. It's a fun movie. Okay, Oscar winners. No surprises here, I don't think. The Departed for Best Picture, Martin Scorsese for The Departed, Best Director.
Did you guys see that Martin Scorsese documentary on
No, is it good?
Apple? Super good.
I love
Super
him.
good. And he needed an Oscar for a long time, and this is when he finally got it. This was like his redemption Oscar.
Helen Mirren for The Queen for Best Actress, and then which I did see and liked, question mark. I think I was kind of mediocre on it. And then a movie I've actually never seen, but I probably should. Forrest Whitaker for The Last King of Scotland.
Never seen that one either, but it looked like a good film. So I need to go back and watch it
Like
too.
Namibia? Where is he a dictator of? I forget.
Uganda, I believe.
Uganda. Yeah. So that was 2006.
Here we are.
Welcome to the Rewind Project, where Allie, Matt, and Eric take another look at your favorite milestone movies through the lens of our present day. Will it be a skip, rent, or buy? Stay tuned and find out.
Okay, folks, welcome back to the Rewind Project. This is our first full-length episode in a long time. It's technically season 7, although we didn't finish season 6. We kind of unceremoniously just dropped out of nowhere and just stopped doing this show. And it's so funny. Friends of mine are like, did y'all have a big fight? Because you didn't even make an announcement. It's like, no, we just got together and said, who's free on Saturday? Nobody. Who's free the next Saturday? Nobody. Who's free? Only one person. And it was like, guys, we don't have to kill ourselves. It's like, okay, let's not. And it was just a very lovely conversation where we just stopped doing the show. But we're back and very happy to be back. And we're doing fewer shows this year. And it's working with our schedules, and we're really happy to be here. I am anyway. Our first big episode on the way back is a movie from 2006. I insisted that we do I would brink no compromise on the film that we were doing in 2006. We are talking today about The Devil Wears Prada.
This was also my choice for 2006. So
okay, good.
We're definitely on the same page.
Awesome. We are not talking about The Devil Wears Prada 2. In fact, we're not even really going to get into it at all because we're actually recording this before the sequel hits theaters. So this will hit your podcast machine, I believe, in the second week of May, and the sequel comes out on May 1st. But we're recording this prior to the sequel being released, so none of us have seen it. So anyway, we're talking about The Devil Wears Prada, the 2006 film, not the 2026 film.
Original flavor.
Directed by David Frankel, written by Aileen Brosh McKenna, based on a novel by Lauren Weisberger. Now, Allie, you are our literary source here. Have you read this book? Because I heard it's real bad. I heard it's real bad.
The movie is one of the rare occurrences where the movie is better than the book. I almost never say that. And, it's shocking to hear those words come out of my mouth, but the book is fine. It's on par. I don't know if either of you ever read The Nanny Diaries. It's kind of like that same kind of frothy, fun-ish novel, but the movie is spectacular. It does not reflect the book. It's definitely better.
Okay. And there's some changes that I'm aware of that I think are just way better. The one that comes to mind is that Nate in the book is actually a real do-gooder. He's like he works at a school for at-risk children or something. And so, it's real easy for him to be like super snooty. Whereas I love the line in the film where he's like, look, I make port wine reductions all day. I'm not, that's not why I'm mad. They all kind of have, and her friend is like, at an art gallery opening and she's an artist. Like they all have their career choices that some might consider to be frivolous. And that's not what, so that they're not knocking her for that. And one of the things that I heard about the book is that the book just hates the fashion industry, whereas the movie has a little bit more respect for the fact that at least it's an industry where a lot of smart people work.
I mean, I probably haven't read the book in, 20 plus years. I read it when it first came out. But yeah, most of that tracks. And it was definitely more of a hit piece on Miranda Priestley, aka Anna Wintour, which we'll get into. It was definitely much more negative towards, and the author had worked for her, so she's
and a little too close to the story maybe. And the other thing that I heard was that when the news was that she was getting published, it's like, oh, Anna Wintour's former assistant is writing a hit piece about Anna Wintour, a very thinly disguised, novel. this thing was optioned for film before it was even released.
Mm-hmm.
So all of a sudden, you know, a studio had the option for this movie. And I think the story in my head, I have no knowledge if this is true or not, but the story in my head is that they read it and went, oh, this is a piece of crap. We're going to need to fix a lot of this. And they fixed it.
And they did.
And they fixed it.
Yeah.
They made a much better film than they had. And I've never read the book, but I've heard the book is not great.
You're, you know what? Save yourself. You're good.
Okay. Notable achievements of this film. This was nominated for a couple of Oscars. Meryl Streep was nominated for Best Actress, and Patricia Field of Sex and the City fame was nominated for costume design.
Oh, she's a
costumes are amazing.
She's a genius.
She had to choose most of them as opposed to actually design a lot of them for this one, but still, the choices are impeccable.
Oh.
The movie that was 20 years old, and watching it, every single outfit that they're in just seems timeless.
Correct.
Like, she did an amazing job.
Yeah, it does not look dated.
No.
There's no I mean, the eye makeup and some of the hairstyles looked a little like, okay, that was of a time. But the clothes look fabulous today.
Absolutely.
100%.
That's why you invest in some
you
good
know,
designer pieces, because they're timeless.
Look, a pointy, spiky heel is never going to go out of style. Just never is. Never is. Meryl Streep did win the Golden Globe for Best Actress, Musical or Comedy, because of course they split the categories in the Golden Globes, which gives, well, I don't like it, but at the same time, it gives comedy performers a chance to win something, because comedy is so undervalued in the industry generally. And so I like the fact that a performance like this can get an award because of the Golden Globes. Also, this surprised me. The National Board of Review listed The Devil Wears Prada among its top 10 films of the year.
Honestly,
I don't.
This is an amazing film. Like as good as it gets, got all the props the year that it was out. I feel like this is as good, or if not better than.
Way better. To me, way better. Broe Deschanel just came out with, not just a couple months ago, came out with a video that she called "The Devil Wears Prada is Scorsese for Women." And basically she compares The Devil Wears Prada to a lot of, she's like, look, there's a lot of echoes of The Godfather, you know, in terms of the anti-hero boss, the way that morality gets compromised because of professional success. She's like, the thing is about, you know, movies that are by and for men, the careers are like mobster, criminal, you know, Wall Street baron. It's like the fashion industry doesn't seem as high stakes from the outside, and it seems maybe a little bit more fluffy and a little bit more shallow, but when you get into it, it is an industry, and a lot of these plot points do echo what's going on. It's just, it also doesn't have this tragic ending,
right,
where thousands of people die, so it doesn't become high art in that way.
It's also presented as a comedy. I mean, as more of a comedy, and so comedies have a harder time getting any respect at the Oscars.
But the point is that there's a lot of depth to this comedy. It's funny,
absolutely,
but there's also a lot going on.
Yes.
Okay, so let's get into it. The plot of this film is that an aspiring journalist lands a job as second assistant to a very ruthless editor-in-chief of a fake magazine called Runway. Of course, Runway is very thinly disguised Vogue, and the ruthless editor-in-chief is a very thinly disguised portrait of Anna Wintour at Vogue, who Lauren Weisberger used to work for, and therefore, like, you know, after she was done, she was like, I'll show that bitch, and she wrote a book, and the rest is history. So there we go. That's what it's about. And what's interesting to me is that it's definitely about the second assistant. The movie is about her, but there's this other figure in the film that takes all the air out of the room, and you have to look at as, this is who this movie feels like it's about, even though it's clearly not. And that is Miranda Priestley, played by the GOAT herself, Meryl Streep.
Can I say something maybe controversial?
Sure.
Okay. For the first 4 people that you have listed, which we're going to get into, I think this movie might be their best performances.
Oh.
Okay. Meryl is tough. I mean, she's done, and what makes Meryl great is her range. The fact that she can do Miranda Priestley, but also do Sophie's Choice and August Osage County and The Iron Lady is what makes her Meryl Streep.
Correct.
Yes.
I don't know. When I was watching this movie, I was like, this is now we could talk about Stanley Tucci. We're gonna talk about all these people, but all of them just inhabited these characters and didn't make them caricatures, which I think could have easily happened, given the background, given the real life people that they're, portraying, et cetera, et cetera. But all of these characters, I think the actors worked really hard on giving them backstories and depth and, qualities that just were much more than surface. And I think in other in not so capable hands, it could have just been like a bunch of caricatures on.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, when you cast Meryl Streep in this role, you're getting something more than, okay, we're just going to get the caricature bad bitch boss,
Right?
but also it's in the script. I mean, the scene where she is bemoaning her divorce and what it's going to do to her kids. They gave that to her. I doubt that scene is in the book. It might be, but I doubt it.
I don't remember.
But I mean, Meryl Streep wouldn't take a role if it was just a caricature and not something she could create a human being out of. At the same time, Meryl Streep is very, very funny. I think my favorite Meryl Streep performance of all time is probably in Postcards from the Edge. Mostly because when I saw it, I was like, holy shit, she's hilarious.
Yeah.
And I had no idea in 1990 that Meryl Streep could be funny.
In this movie, though, her performance is spectacular because most of the time when you get a horrible boss, they're yelling, they're screaming. She never raises her voice, ever. Even when in that takedown, yeah, it is always soft. She just commands the room regardless. And like you felt bad for Andy, but you also like when she got the cerulean takedown, like, but she also kind of deserved it.
Oh, she totally deserved it.
100%.
And Meryl, the way that she does it while she's actually using it to inspire herself as she's walking around, putting together the outfit, rambling, not even rambling, like giving her this education about fashion history and then putting together and then just at the last minute and you think you chose that outfit for yourself when really we all chose it for you.
LOL to you.
Yes. Yeah. Bam. Every single time. It's just a quiet, wow, such a disappointment. But the way she delivers it, you feel bad every single time. She just chewed through everyone. It was amazing.
Yeah, I think one of my favorite line readings over this whole thing is it's such a minor thing and it's a throwaway, but it's like, why is no one ready?
I say that on a monthly basis, even still. And actually, when I was watching this movie, which I've seen many times, I forgot how many quotes I quote me, Allie Jenkins, personally on a regular basis, probably 5 or 6. I say I'm one stomach flu away from my goal weight all the time.
We have a friend who does the same thing.
I say that all the time. I always text because I'm always early, and I have a lot of people in my life who are not as early as I am, and I get it. But sometimes I'm like, why is nobody ready? Yeah, there's so many quotes that I quote on a regular. Gird your loins. I say that all the time. So it definitely was more of a cultural touchstone for me than I even remembered it being.
Yeah. And Meryl, fabulous. I mean, no one's going to say a bad thing about Meryl, are they? We have no hot takes about how overrated Meryl Streep is. No.
And my favorite thing of all about this movie that I love about her is that is her real hair. And I was like, that just to me makes it even that much more delicious.
That is one thing that I think is really smart, because one of the things they could have done is they could have given her the Anna Wintour bob. And that would have, it's such a great choice not to. And I would imagine that Meryl Streep would say absolutely not. And probably have the power to say, have a little bit of, but they made her look great. I mean, she's got the same hairstyle in the sequel, and it still looks great. It is timeless, but at the same time, it's not a caricature of Anna Wintour. It's her own thing. And I'm sure she didn't just look at videos of Anna Wintour at Fashion Week in Paris and base a character based on that. She really created something from scratch, which is why we're going to get into it. Not even Anna Wintour hates this movie.
How could she?
Yeah. Next up, Anne Hathaway as Andy Sachs. Anne Hathaway was actually cast at Meryl Streep's direction. Oh. She saw Anne Hathaway in Brokeback Mountain and said, that's the girl. We need to get her.
Huh.
Which is interesting because in Brokeback Mountain, she's kind of a bitch.
And she's kind of overshadowed by Michelle Williams and the two Benz.
Michelle Williams definitely has the better role of
Mhm.
the two wives in there, but I think it was probably, if again, making up a story, I would imagine Meryl Streep looked at Anne Hathaway in Brokeback Mountain and said, face of an angel
Yeah.
has an edge.
Yeah.
And so that's what we need. We need those two things to exist side by side. We need somebody who looks, but has a real edge to her.
I love Brokeback Mountain. I know this isn't when I'm not talking about it, but I do love that movie.
Oh, it's a great movie.
It's a great movie.
One of the few movies, and
the worst best picture loss of all time.
Agreed. And you know me, I don't cry very often, but that is one of the few movies that I absolutely walked out of the movie theater and my eyes were almost swollen shut because I had been crying so much from that movie.
Agreed.
So.
Absolutely. Might need to watch that again.
Yeah.
When I'm ready. I have to emotionally prepare myself. I mean, I own Brokeback Mountain. I will watch it again, but I have to be ready.
No, it's one of those movies you can't just you're not watching it on a plane. You're not watching it when it's snowing outside, right? You gotta
But Anne Hathaway in this, she really carries this whole movie, and yet she allows these other characters, many of which are much bigger characters in terms of just the amount of space they take up in a room. And yet she carries it beautifully. She, you always kind of come back to her and go, oh yeah, Andy. And even when Andrea doesn't behave perfectly, I still get it. She makes mistakes in this movie, but I'm still 100% with her and kind of on her side, which I think is really important.
I think we've all had these kinds of bosses in our lives, right? And sometimes you learn from them and sometimes you learn what not to do. And so, when I was watching this movie, I'm definitely watching it through the filter of some bosses that shall remain nameless that, maybe didn't quite treat me as bad as Miranda, but definitely had me, thinking about, is this what I want to do with my life? Is this, is the juice worth the squeeze? Is it going to get me where I need to be? Those sorts of things. So, I always kind of remind myself of that when I'm going through.
And I think, that's the real crux of the movie is if you remove Miranda, Andy has to make decisions about how she is going to progress in life.
Right.
And she's presented with some very difficult decisions, but they're decisions nonetheless. She's got to choose between two different difficult things, and she's got to decide, is getting ahead more important than doing, and doing what would be perceived as the good thing as opposed to what would be the profitable thing. And that's part of life.
Dancing thing.
Yeah.
Well, I think she grows in terms of morality, right? And she kind of, and those are some of the mistakes she makes. But she also proves to herself how smart and resourceful she can be.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that whole sequence with the Harry Potter manuscript, she fucking finds a unpublished Harry Potter manuscript, which in the world of publishing has to be worth its weight in fucking gold.
Millions of dollars.
And she does it. It kind of reminded me in a weird way. Have y'all seen the show on Netflix, Boots?
No.
So Boots is about a young kid who basically the series is his experience in Marine boot camp. And at the beginning of the series, he should not be joining the Marines. You're like, oh boy, this is going to be painful. And I don't like a lot of cringe. And so I was getting ready to hate this show. But by the end of the show, it's these people were horrible to him and really bad leadership, exhibited by almost every drill sergeant. It's abusive. And yet by the end of the show, you're like, wow, he grew up a lot and he can do things that he never thought he could do. And I was thinking about Boots when I was watching this. I'm like, Andy Sachs can do things she never thought she could do. And it was because she was pushed perhaps by an abusive monster, but nonetheless, she did it. She actually rose to the occasion. And that kind of growth was also there in addition to the whole moral thing. And I think she carried it. She was lovely. Although shout out to my friend, Rebecca, who is the most talented actor I have personally ever been on a stage with in my life. And I always thought Rebecca's going to have, if any of my friends are going to have a huge career, it's going to be Rebecca. And Rebecca looks a lot like Anne Hathaway. So every time I see Anne Hathaway do anything, I'm like, should have been Rebecca. But that's okay. I'm sure Anne Hathaway is a lovely person and just happened to be at the right place at the right time and deserves all of her success. Next on our cast list, an unknown when this film was made and is now
Not anymore.
huge and deservedly so, Emily Blunt as, funnily enough, Emily. the first assistant to Miranda Priestley in this film.
I mean, she stole the show, bar none. She's just so fun to watch, and I love Emily Blunt as an actor, and as a person. Though I will say, because this is who I am, she definitely has a different face now. It was definitely interesting to see her old face. Definitely, no, it doesn't quite look like that anymore. Which, Mazel, do whatever you want to your own bodies, but there was a
Now I
difference.
need to go look this up.
Yeah,
I
please
don't-
do a side by side.
Just on that note, there are faces that are good for future facelifts. If you already have an angular face as a young person, your facelift is not going to look that bad. When you have a very round face, as Emily Blunt did,
and me,
your facelift is not going to. It is going to change the shape of your face.
Yeah, for sure. But I mean, she's so funny, and she's the perfect arch, right? Like she's got that, like, not maybe because she's British, but she's got that perfect arch kind of looking down her nose. She comes around a little at the end. But one thing I did catch this time around watching it that I had never seen before is when she says, what are you late for? A hideous skirt convention. And if you look at Emily Blunt, she starts laughing and they cut quickly away. So I don't even know how many takes they did to have to use that one. She must have just been like cracking herself up, or like Anne Hathaway was cracking up, but I had never noticed that before. But if you look at it, it's like 5 seconds where she's.
I will definitely check that out. Or maybe it was an ad lib. And it
Yes.
just, but they loved it so much, they're like, okay, but we need to use that.
But they
line
cut
because that is
right
hilarious.
away from her face
That is
because she
funny.
starts to laugh. I love that little Easter egg that I hadn't seen before. But
That's
she's
funny.
great. I think she's amazing.
My favorite moment for Emily in this whole thing, and it's a minor, it's not throwaway. I mean, it's definitely there. But to me, I'm so impressed by how she can stay so grounded in reality, even when saying the most ridiculous things. And to me, was the one when Miranda missed the call from Lagerfeld because someone had sliced their hand open with a paper shredder, and just like, and we missed Lagerfeld. And it was just like, okay, you just told the story of someone bleeding all over the time, and they're still not allowed to leave the desk. I mean, it's just like, yes.
As if it was a rational thing.
Yes.
Right. Like, this is how business works, right? You slice your hand and let her open it.
Missed Lagerfeld. Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Go to the ER on your own time.
Yeah. Next up on the cast list is Emily Blunt's brother-in-law.
Love that.
Stanley Tucci.
Wait, what?
Yes.
Yeah.
He married Emily Blunt's sister because
Felicity.
Emily was like, I know a guy for you. I think you would get along really well, because Emily and Stanley met on this film and she played matchmaker.
And they're best
And
friends.
Stanley Blunt is married to Stanley Tucci is married to Emily Blunt's sister.
Yeah, Felicity Blunt.
Oh my God, I did not know that.
And Stanley Tucci is one of 2 straight men in the world who have a free pass to play gay anytime they want to, because they're so good at it.
Agreed.
The other one is Paul Rudd.
Yes.
Paul Rudd and Stanley Tucci both know how to play gay men without playing mincing, offensive stereotypes.
Feminine, yeah.
Oh, they're gay. As soon as they start speaking in character, you absolutely get it. There's a gay sensibility that they just have. And it doesn't rub me the wrong way at all. So he has a gay pass forever.
To that point, when you just said that he was the brother-in-law, I thought he married Emily Blunt's brother.
Surprise.
Stanley Tucci is a very straight man. I actually saw Stanley Tucci live on Broadway in Frankie and Johnny and the Clair de Lune, in which he was naked for the entirety of Act 1. Okay. So I saw quite a bit of Little Stanley as well. Little Stanley is not so little.
Oh, I don't find him attractive, though.
Stanley Tucci has got, at the time when he was doing Frankie and Johnny on Broadway with, he had like maybe 0.05% body fat.
I'm sure.
He had abs for days, might have dehydrated himself before the show. I have no idea, but he's very good at lounging on a piece of furniture and not looking as though he's trying to hide the candy, but not necessarily giving you full frontal access the entire time. He does it very casually, but yeah, he was just naked as a jaybird for about 45 minutes on stage. And I sat and watched. And he was great.
Nice.
Anyway, Stanley Tucci as Nigel.
So good.
I don't even know what Nigel's job title is.
I think he's creative director, probably.
Something like that. Yeah. But high up in the magazine, gay man. It's never really explicitly stated
Mm-mm.
that he is homosexual, but he absolutely is. Um, as kind of his whole little speech about, being a boy in Rhode Island with 7 brothers who read Runway under the covers, and tried to pretend he was into sports. It's like, okay, yeah, Stanley, we got your number. But yeah, kind of instrumental in Andy's necessary makeover to become the fashionista she needs to be in order to be successful at Runway magazine.
I'm sorry, but when she becomes, the new fashion it girl, that montage might be one of the best montages of all time. I could watch that
It
montage
works.
on a loop and not get sick of it.
It works.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And also, speaking of, and I didn't remember this, it's a banging soundtrack. 2 Madonna songs, U2, like, great soundtrack.
Suddenly I See
Suddenly I
is
See,
a
yeah.
great, and I noticed they use Vogue in the teaser trailer for Devil Wears Prada 2, and it's in the first one.
Yep.
A different section. They use the beginning with the snaps in the teaser trailer, and it's, they're full into the chorus by the time you do it here. But yeah, you can't do a movie about fashion and not use Vogue by Madonna. I mean,
And I love Jump. We're going down
Yes.
a Madonna rabbit hole, but I love it. But yes, I think Stanley Tucci can do anything. I think this role or Caesar Flickerman, probably my 2 favorite Stanley Tucci roles.
This is probably my favorite role for Stanley Tucci. He's the unwitting mentor for Andy. Like, that wasn't how he wanted to start out that relationship with her, but he ended up just doing it. And I think because he saw
And he's
value
kind of
in
as
her
mean as everyone
well.
else. He calls her 6 the entire time because a size 6 is apparently morbidly obese in the world of Runway magazine.
Can we take a little sidebar and talk about all of the cringy eating disorder content in this movie that I did not remember?
Yes.
I mean, I joke, someone's stomach away from it, go weight, but I forgot about like the carb shaming and the 0.6. It was a lot. It was a lot more, Andy not wanting to eat the grilled cheese, the portioning out of the meals for the models at the beginning montage of the movie. Yeah, that does not, oof. Ugh.
Yeah, corn chowder, that's a choice.
Yeah, I was like, ouch.
Yeah, well, and just, and I think it was always meant to be funny that Meryl Streep refers to Anne Hathaway as the smart fat girl.
Right.
Because Anne Hathaway is in no universe fat. I didn't see when she announces that she goes from a size 6 to a size 4. First of all, it's a cause for celebration. There's nothing ironic about that at all. The movie is absolutely celebrating that with her, but she didn't look any different to me at all.
No.
I don't think Anne Hathaway actually lost any weight between the scenes in the first part of the movie and the scenes in the end.
Before.
Yeah, she's probably is.
Hollywood, right?
But yeah, let's hire the smart fat girl. I mean, to me, that is a funny line because she's just not fat. But it just kind of shows how fucked up this whole universe is.
And especially in 2006, where I think we were not as body positive then, like 20 years ago. Like, there's a lot more body positivity in the world now, but back then there wasn't. So like, I would imagine
and then we got Ozempic, and now all the former body positivity role models are all super skinny now.
I mean, it's like a bell curve, basically. But yeah, I mean, I just, you wouldn't make a movie in 2026 with all of that stuff in it. It wouldn't happen.
Yeah.
Well, unless you were trying to illustrate how difficult and the unrealistic expectations of this industry, what they are.
I think they were doing that.
I kind of feel like that's what it was.
I feel like both are true, because smart fat girl is funny today. Is it impossible to find a lovely, slender female paratrooper? Yes, Meryl, it is. That's still funny.
It is funny.
Because paratroopers have muscles. They have to, because they're paratroopers. I mean, some of that stuff is just funny. And it's interesting to me. She always says slender. No one ever says thin. No one ever says skinny. Slender girl. But yeah, so there is that. But then there's also, again, I think that today she absolutely would have not said she's a size 4, and Stanley Tucci would not have just unironically congratulated her for that. And that would be a moment of triumph for her. It shouldn't be. And I think today we would go, yeah, no.
Right. Are you going into the closet and him saying, well, I don't think anything in here is going to fit you. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, though I guarantee you, and I'm making this bet, obviously without having seen the sequel, but there's probably at least 3 Ozempic jokes in the sequel. Mark my words.
Okay, we'll see. I put one more person on the cast list only because
Oh,
this
boy.
character requires some debate. Now, there's this whole thing that goes on that says, the real villain of The Devil Wears Prada is not Miranda Priestley. It's actually the boyfriend, Nate.
That
Now,
is correct.
Broe Deschanel has some opinions about that. And her thing is, I think that kind of comes from this girl boss philosophy that might be a little outdated now. She thinks that perhaps Nate was perhaps unfairly judged. And she actually agrees with Nate in a lot of this stuff. Why did Allie, you're shaking your head. Why is
No,
Nate the villain of the movie?
he's trash. Her friends are trash. They only liked the job when they were getting shit. I feel very strongly about it. I mean, look, I love Adrian Grenier. Okay, I loved Entourage, and this is like height of Entourage time, right? So he was like a real heartthrob.
Very cute.
Very cute. My perfect. That's like my type right there. I don't know. He just, and again, maybe this is coming from somebody who has a very demanding job and has to sacrifice some of her personal life. I travel all the time. I travel almost monthly, at least bi-monthly. There are things that I do miss about, but I do for the most part enjoy my job. So I get it. Like I can see it from both sides. I don't know. I felt like when she was trying to make decisions on her own, he just was not supportive because she was going through her own renaissance of what kind of person she wanted to be, what kind of career she wanted to have. And I just felt like he wanted old Andy back, but people grow, people change. Now, look, are they in their 20s? Are they just out of college? Do we all have those relationships where you were with somebody and you were like, well, actually, we're not growing in the same way? I don't know. He just was kind of like a jerk baby about it.
I kind of feel like all her friends were, though. Well,
Correct.
at least at least he and the other female friend,
Lily.
like they're just naive. Like they're young kids that are naive and think that life at 20 is going to be the life that they have the rest of their lives. And shit happens, things change. You grow apart with people. Like when Lily was, calling her out and like reading her the riot act at her at the showing, like she didn't even give Andy a chance to explain or
No.
say anything. She just attacked her and said, the Andy I know is deeply and madly in love with Nate, and I don't even know who this person is. And it's like, well, you're not even trying to know who this person is. Like,
Also,
you don't.
if Simon Baker wanted to have sex with me, who's going to resist that? He's so hot.
He is very attractive in this movie.
Very attractive.
Yeah, to me, the friends were absolutely assholes when they were tossing her phone around and wouldn't let her have it. Because that's like, that to me, I wanted to smack all of them 2 seconds after fawning over this free bag that she just, gave her. And then they're all laughing. Anne Hathaway absolutely was completely justified in calling all of them assholes.
Yep.
I do think, though, that when Nate comes around and says, again, that line, look, I make port wine reductions all day. I'm not saying that your job has to be like super meaningful, but you wanted to do something different. And you made fun of all those girls. And you hate this boss. So why in the world are you still, and he says, I wouldn't mind that you were, and again, a little dig at sex workers, which probably would not happen in 2026. But, I wouldn't mind if you were pole dancing all night, as long as you did it with some integrity. I kind of could see how we as the audience like gained some respect for the fashion industry along with Andy. And they missed it because mostly she spends all of her time at work, and I kind of felt bad for her dad when they were trying to like go out on the town and see a Broadway show. And she's spending all this time with these ridiculous requests from her boss to try to find a plane in a hurricane. That
little
whole,
weather.
I mean, like, so it's like, yes, I mean, it kind of leads us into our next thing. So I don't know. I think Adrian Grenier, I don't think that this relationship is necessarily going to last.
I hope it doesn't.
He's not in the sequel. So that probably means that Nate was a lovely boy who married somebody else. And that's great. But yeah, I'm not necessarily this time around. I was like, I was watching Nate and going, Nate, your job is not all that, important to the world. And then he admitted it. And I was like, oh, okay. And at the end, she does throw her phone into the fountain in Paris because she doesn't want to become the horrible person that Miranda Priestley is. And she is a horrible person, and Nate can see that. And so why are you emulating this horrible person? I think there was a little bit of, maybe it didn't come out as well as it could have, but I think he's vindicated by time a little bit. I think that there was a time when I was like, Nate's horrible, but I was like, no, he's young and he's immature, but he does have some valid points that should be considered, I think.
I think the thing that really irritates me about his statement, though, is that he doesn't understand that the stuff that she is doing is her port wine reduction. She views what
Interesting.
she is doing as the stepping stone to something bigger or the next step in her career. She constantly said that if I work for this lady, and she said 1 year, like who knows how long it would have taken, but like I can get another job anywhere in publishing. Like she thought that this would help her in her career in journalism.
Yep.
And he's ignoring that fact. So like she's suffering at what she's doing, kind of like he's suffering being bored at work, doing port wine reductions every time. This is just a different way.
Stepping stone.
Suffering.
Yeah,
it's a stepping
But again,
stone.
and we also see things like when Simon Baker says, "Come on in with me, I'll introduce you to the guy in the New Yorker," and she's like, I can't because I really need to go," and she's still late.
right.
And she shows up with the cupcake on his birthday, and he's just pissed. Which look, I get it. If you say you're going to be somewhere, and then at the last minute you're like, "Oh, I can't. I have to work for a job you hate." I can get where people would be frustrated.
Yeah.
I also get that we're on Andy's side and we see everything from her perspective,
Right.
and we see how she gives up things and still can't win. And it just seems doubly unjust. But I guess if I look at the whole thing from Nate's perspective, I understand why he's confused and why, he thinks that she is making some mistakes. And I think the movie finally comes around to the fact that she is making some mistakes. She throws her phone in the fountain. She's like, I don't want to be you. I just saw what you did to Nigel, and not everyone wants to be us. Goodbye. So I'm kind of wondering, how much should we really respect Miranda Priestley? I think the book was a total hit job from my understanding of it.
It was.
This wanted to make her a little bit more human. Now, obviously, some of her expectations, it's drizzling where the rain is going sideways,
You see the
and
palm
lightning.
trees.
Such a funny moment, but I mean, clearly she's insane. You cannot get a flight when the weather looks like that outside your huge plate glass window. Getting a copy of an unplugged, I mean, she was just setting her up to fire her because she gave her a task that no one could accomplish. And miraculously she did, but she shouldn't have. So some of her expectations as a boss and just some of the abusive language that she uses, no, I'm not talking about the cerulean monologue so much as the smart fat girl HR would have it. You can't say that. So she's a terrible boss on paper in a lot of ways, but is there anything about Miranda that you actually kind of admire as you're watching this film? What's the other hand?
I kind of want a mug that says Team Miranda. I feel like
I'm sure it exists.
I feel like this movie is probably divisive depending upon whether you've been in management or you haven't been.
Or you've had a boss like that, or you haven't.
Yeah, because Miranda is horrible at times, but when you really look at the movie, she helped Andy mature and grow as a person and a professional very quickly. Like, and to your point where like Andy figured out how to get the manuscript. I mean, stuff like that. Like she figured out she was resourceful. She didn't hold her hand every moment to get things done. She said, this needs to be done, figure it out. And like, I kind of feel like we need to do that a little bit more these days.
I had a boss who I love. She is not Miranda Priestley at all, but she was the first one that empowered me to say, just make a decision, make it with your brain, with, how you feel. And she's like, I will back you up, but just make a decision. And I've carried that through my entire career. And, it's helped me grow. I've definitely had bosses that have taught me things that, have made me the person that I am today, and have helped me in my career. And of course, Miranda's approach, probably not the best approach. But you're right. And, I think if Andy had just gone into like a regular entry-level journalism position, she probably wouldn't be the same person, when she gets the job at the end of the New York Mirror, LOL, fake news. she can present herself in a way that she would never have been able to present herself.
She's going to be a much better journalist
Correct.
now
Yeah.
than she would have been
Absolutely.
before. And yet that, you can be a tough boss without being insane. Like Miranda Priestley is a bad boss. Like I'm gonna die on that hill. But there are also some things. Do you think that it's fair? Do you think that it's true what Andy says to Simon Baker about if she were a man, we would just call her resourceful and brilliant?
100%.
How much
Yeah.
of this is misogyny? I mean,
Not all of it, but some of it. Sure.
yeah. I think she gets I think it's probably a little from column A, little from column B. I mean, Miranda is terrible.
I think more of it would be overlooked if she was a man. Like more of the things that she did would be overlooked.
I mean, I think two things can be true. Like you can be a mentor and be a horrible person.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. And I think that's what makes the movie, it does kind of live in this ambiguous place. Like, do we like her or not? Her final moment is just iconic to me. Is, this whole wave of nostalgia washes across her face. And as soon as you think we're going to get this little warm, fuzzy ending, it's like, go.
Right.
She's so mean to her driver. And it's like, okay, she hasn't made a complete
She's not going
180.
to change. She's not going to change her personality.
It's funny you use the word mentor, and not every boss that you have is going to be a mentor. Some bosses are just going to be bosses.
Yep.
But in a weird way in this movie, I think Miranda saw herself as a mentor to Andy, even though she is just kind of a terrible person at times. It's kind of interesting, I think. And so she was, when they walk up the stairs, she was disappointed that Andy walked away. But I think in some respects, she's like, oh, she made her own choice.
Yeah.
She made
I'm
a
actually
choice.
kind of proud of her.
The baby bird has left the nest kind of thing.
Yeah.
But also, I think she was mentoring her not only in all the good things, like you can be smart, you can be resourceful, but also you can be a real bitch, and here's how.
Right.
I want you to go to Paris and not Emily, and I want you to tell her.
Yeah.
And will you do it? And she did. Now it's interesting that she made that decision before Emily got hit with a car and probably couldn't go to Paris anyway.
Yeah.
With a big broken leg. And it was good that I think she made it before, because it did make her a little culpable. In the book, my understanding is Emily gets mono and can't go to Paris. And so Andy gets sent, not because Miranda wants her there,
That is correct.
but because she needed somebody. And so, it's kind of one of those things where giving Andy a little bit of agency there, but also Miranda's mentoring her to the dark side. It's like, here's how to be a cutthroat bitch, which you have to be in order to get to where I am.
Especially in fashion.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
So anyway, do you think The Devil Wears Prada, the title, does it only refer to Miranda, or is it kind of anybody who gets a little bit too, is the fashion industry presented as something that makes you a little devilish? Is Andy getting a little devilish towards the end? Does Emily already have some of those tendencies?
You say that, and then I think of the Pope that had the Prada shoes. Which one was it? One prior to
the Nazi guy.
Yeah.
Is that Benedict?
Yeah,
I think so.
I think so. Yeah, he had Prada shoes.
He does live in Rome.
Bright red patent leather Prada shoes.
Who among us? I'd love a pair of bright red Prada shoes. Give me a break.
I think what it really means to me is that sometimes you sell your soul to get what you really want.
Yeah,
is what I take from the meaning of that title. So
I would agree.
Whatever that means to you.
And I don't think it's necessarily limited to fashion. I think it's anybody in any career. If you want to advance your career, sometimes you have to do some shitty shit. Like you have to decide, as Andy does, could I get ahead in this career? I'm on a trajectory, I'm making these choices, or do I not want to sell my soul, right? I think we've all, maybe not as dramatic, but we've all had to wrestle with questions like that. I always think about like a sliding doors moment. Like, what if I picked a different job? What if I picked a different career? Like, where would I be in my life? So I think it's just, you have to make those choices in any career. It just happens to be probably a little bit higher profile and more cutthroat fashion.
Yeah. We've talked about this already, but one of the things I really love about this movie is that at the beginning, we kind of look at all these fashionistas as being kind of silly. And then, the big cerulean monologue is part of it, but then just also the fact that, when Andy gets her makeover, she actually learns things. She develops a a sense of, she knows what the new Hermes bag looks like. She's starting to pay attention. At the beginning, she's like, I learn really fast, but also she has no interest in learning the stuff she needs to know for this job.
Mm-hmm.
But eventually she gets to respect the fashion industry a little bit. So what was your take on it? Is it art, or is it a way to charge way too much for money for clothes and shoes and bags, or is it a little column A, little column B?
A little column A, a little column B. I go back to the Cerulean monologue, and that actually taught me a lot about fashion itself, and like made me kind of respect it as an art form, because it is an art form. And the other comment that it's an art that you live your life in, so it's actually more important. I think Nigel says that in the movie. But it is also an industry, and it's one that has to reinvent itself every season to continually make products to sell to people so that it is self-sustaining.
Florals for spring, groundbreaking.
Groundbreaking.
I liken it to the tech industry now. And the reason I say that is, we used to progress through technology with, we would have processor updates and everything like that, but we didn't release them every year. We would release them every couple of years. Now Apple has locked itself into this expectation that it comes out with a brand new processor, brand new iPhone every year, that it has to update and have better specs and blah, blah, blah. And that's a lot when you stop and think about it. Every year you have to create this brand new product that we didn't have to do that every year previously.
And I know people who buy a new iPhone every single year.
For sure.
Exactly.
And they don't have to, but they do. Take all my money.
All your money. But fashion industry has been doing this for decades. They've had to do this.
Yeah. And the only reason things look dated is because we've all decided they look dated.
Yeah.
I mean, the 70s hair is kind of making a bit of a comeback now. Not completely the way it looked like in the 70s, but there are things that people are doing now that kind of have this retro. And it's like 30 years ago is always kind of quasi cool, right? Whereas 40 years ago looks terrible. And we've all kind of, we're on this, this cycle.
Nostalgia kick. I love fashion.
But it's a social construct. We've all agreed to it. It's not real.
Right. I love fashion. If I had money, I would have designer things. And you wouldn't be able to know that I love fashion by the way that I dress, but I'm only constricted by, the money that I make. But I don't know. I love the fashion industry.
I don't know. I think that French fries cap you're wearing right now, Allie, is the height of fashion in many ways.
I feel it's important to wear the causes that you're committed to, and I am extremely committed to French fries. But I find the whole business very fascinating. I always have. I'm not reading Vogue, but I know the major houses and I follow along with the trends, and I pay attention to what's happening at the Met Gala, and I like talking about fashion. I think it's very cool, and I do think it's an art form. My favorite museum in London, the V&A, always has some sort of fashiony or fashion as art exhibit, and it's just so fascinating to me, especially as an expression, fashion as defiance, fashion as a way to protest, things like that, and it is absolutely an industry, and I think it gets a little bit of a bad rap in the sense that it's a lot of it is only accessible to people who have money, but as we all know, it trickles down to the rest.
We all get a cerulean sweater eventually.
We all get a cerulean sweater eventually. I have probably owned something similar at the Gap and at one point in my life.
Okay, you ready for some fun facts about this movie?
Yes, always.
Favorite fun fact of all time with this movie. Anna Wintour went to an advanced screening for press for this film. She was not invited to the premiere, but there was an advanced screening held for press. She wore Prada from head to toe as she walked into the theater, but claimed she didn't have any idea what this movie was even about, she says, after the book had already been out.
Sure.
And, I'm sure, come on, Anna. Are we stupid? But years later, somebody asked, well, are you offended by this film? And she said it was very witty, and she thought it was, quote unquote, a fair shot. Probably because Miranda is much more of a human being in the movie than she is in the book. But anyway, she likes it. Second fun fact, I love this one too. On the first day of filming, Meryl Streep walked up to Anne Hathaway and said, I think you're perfect for the role. I'm so happy we'll be working together. And then she paused and said, "That's the last nice thing I will say to you on this set." And she kept her word.
We love a method actor. I'm sure that was a really fun rap party because everybody could be normal again.
I think a lot of method actors, it takes them a while to get out of
Yeah.
character as well sometimes, so who knows? But yeah, I'm sure by the time they were doing press for this movie, they were on good terms again. But yeah, she was a real ice queen to Anne the whole time. The Devil Wears Prada is the most expensively costumed film in history, despite the fact that a lot of the clothes were loaned to the film for free. But what they had to pay for was so expensive that it ended up breaking all records for costume budgets on a movie. After the shoot, I thought this was really cool. All the costumes were auctioned off to benefit a breast cancer charity. Anne Hathaway actually bid on I couldn't find the exact green dress because she wears a couple, but there was a green dress that she wore in the film that apparently she just loved. And so she bid on that and spent way too much money for that dress.
That's awesome, because she could have probably just taken it.
It's awesome. Yeah.
But they they were taking all the costumes and said these are all going to the auction.
Nice.
So somebody made that decision. One thing that Meryl Streep did keep from the set were Miranda's iconic sunglasses, which actually she used again in Mamma Mia in the Money, Money, Money number.
That's funny.
She pulled out Miranda Priestley's sunglasses to wear, and I never caught that.
I
but
didn't
if
catch
I watch
that
Mamma
either.
Mia ever again, I will look for those.
That's awesome.
Anyway, a few fun facts about the film. Y'all ready to play a game?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So this game, I kind of took a little inspiration from Wicked. The idea of like, let's take a slightly villainous character, but let's show an origin story that perhaps shows us how they got there. Wicked as opposed to the Star Wars prequels, although I guess you could make a case for either one.
Cruella.
And we're going to make a movie about the life of the young Miranda Priestley. We're going to explore how Miranda became Miranda, and what kind of got her to that place. So I have two questions for you. The first, and I wonder if we'll have any repeats here, because I think my casting is fairly perfect, and I bet other folks had the same idea. Who will play Miranda Priestley in her 20s or 30s? And two, I want you to describe a moment you envision from this prequel that kind of explains how Miranda became the woman we now know. Matt, I'm going to ask you to go first.
Okay. By the way, I love this game. This was truly a good thinker for me. Okay, so the easy part is the actress. I selected Sophie Turner. So
Okay.
if you're not familiar, I Sansa Stark. I think she has a lot of potential. I don't think she's had a really great role yet. I'm excited for her new TV show.
Do you know she's going to be Lara Croft?
Oh, is she really?
Yes.
Oh, fantastic.
And what's her face is directing it? I forget who, but it's like a big female director is directing it.
Is Greta Gerwig?
Maybe? I don't know. I have to look it up. You can go this out.
I'm in for that.
But yes, Sophie Turner will be the next Lara Croft.
Cool. Because again, like she was Sansa Stark, but then she was end up in the X-Men movies was the next big profile thing, and the movies that she was in were terrible. She was not bad, but it was just they were not great films. So I want to give her another shot. I think she looks like Meryl, like a young Meryl, visually, and that's one of the reasons I wanted to go for it. So the other reason I love this game is because it really is a thinker. So in 2006, I think Miranda is probably just getting into her 50s. I think she had her kids late in life. And so backtrack, if we're talking 20s, she's 19, we're talking 1976, maybe 80s. Who is Miranda Priestley? Like, what is her background? Like, what was the world like at that time? She isn't a hippie. She is a conservative no matter what. I think Miranda grew up, I think her aunt was probably the fashion icon of her life. Maybe her aunt married wealthy and like had access to all of it. And I think she really loved fashion. And I think she ended up going to fashion college, got a degree in history and marketing, because let's face it, she's not making her own clothes. At any point do we actually see her interested in it. She loves the history of it. She loves the industry. So I think she went through and did that. And then I think after college, she ended up working at a department store in purchasing for like a chain, because that's an important job. And like figuring out what stores are going to sell for the next year, massively important because it's got to sell. So I think the thing that made her think and become the person that she is, she's working for a boss. She's an assistant to the purchaser. Her boss gets screwed over by her boss, and because she selects something. So she's actually Miranda, is reads all of the fashion magazines, is helping her boss select the stuff, trying to keep her connected to what's going on in fashion at a relatively turbulent time in the fashion industry too. We're talking 70s and 80s. Massive change in what's going on. I think the head of the department for purchasing overrules them. Nothing sells. And then her boss gets fired because he scapegoats the boss. Miranda sees this and realizes two things. One, you have to stay informed because the boss wasn't informed. And then two, you want to be in charge. This is a cutthroat industry. You want to fucking be in charge. So she leaves this job, goes to Runway, and starts her career there because she wants to be the person selecting the fucking fashion and be in charge of all of it. And I think, and then she realizes it's a cutthroat world. That's my story.
Okay. Allie.
I mean, mine is literally 2 bullet points on a Post-it, so don't love following that extremely thoughtful thing. But so do you want to know who I was playing my Miranda first?
Yes.
Okay, so this popped into my head. She's having a little bit of a moment, but I have Jessie Buckley as playing a young Miranda Priestley.
Okay.
Jessie Buckley.
Up
From
for an
Hamnet.
Oscar for Hamnet this year.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Also, she was in Wicked Little Letters with Olivia Colman.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so I don't know. She just sort of popped into my head. I feel like she could do a good job. And, she plays a lot of heavy stuff. So giving her something a little lighter would probably be better. And maybe she can sing. I don't know. My sort of backstory is that Miranda grew up very poor. And so therefore had to wear a lot of hand-me-down clothes, a lot of thrifted, a lot of, just rags and tags. Maybe she was the youngest of her family. And there's a pivotal scene that I made up in my mind where, she's going, she's in high school and she gets bullied for her clothes and called all sorts of names. And it's at that moment where she decides that she's always going to wear the hottest fashion. She's going to always look the best. She's always going to have designer clothes. She never wants to feel this way again. And that's where her armor starts to come up a little bit. And that's why she becomes, the ice queen that we see 30 years later, is that she was very ashamed and did not want to ever be in this position again and was never in this position again.
Okay.
I like it.
So mine, and I can't believe we have no overlap on our casting choices.
I love it.
My Miranda Priestley is going to be played by Anya Taylor-Joy.
Okay, do we notice that none of us picked Americans? They're all from Ireland and the UK.
That's interesting. Yeah. But Anya Taylor-Joy has played American a number of times. She's most famous for The Queen's Gambit, which I thought she was just brilliant in. Who also looks a little Meryl Streepish to me. She looks like she could definitely grow in to Meryl Streep. The moment that I envisioned was that, she's working at some point, she's kind of doing what I'm doing, is kind of the independent contractor route. And one of the jobs she gets as a young woman is to dress the models for a fashion shoot. She needs to go out and buy the outfits that models will use so a photographer can take the things. Now, what it is that, she's getting paid a certain amount of money, but then she has to invoice the money that she spends on these clothes, and then that is subtracted from her pay. But of course, Miranda wants it to look fantastic. She's young. She's, it's more about the perfection of the thing. So she buys all this top of the line stuff. The models look amazing, but when she goes to get her check, there's like $30 left over.
Oh, snap.
So she's getting paid $30. And she has a little bit of a meltdown because she's already kind of a diva at this point. And she's so furious that there's so little money there. And she's like, "That's all?" And the guy's like, "Yeah, that's all." And then you see her say very quietly, "That's all."
That's all.
And that's the birth of her catchphrase that will come back many, many times throughout her career. That's all. Anyway, that was that was a fun game. You know, it's kind of interesting. And you know what? I know that Meryl Streep made up some stories of her own, you know, as to like, who is this woman? Where did she come from? You know, what were some of the pivotal scenes in her life that kind of created her to be the way she is? Okay, folks, we are at the end of our return episode, and it's time for our favorite little final game-ish that we call Skip, Rent, or Buy. We're all going to rate this film. A skip means, Eric, why did you make me watch this movie? I hated it. It doesn't sound like we're getting any skips this time, but you know, I can always be surprised. Rent kind of means, yeah, I'm not mad that I watched this movie, but I don't need to see it again. I'm glad that it exists, but it was okay. Buy means brilliant. I could watch this movie many, many times. Maybe I already own it. If I don't, maybe I should. It was just fantastic. So we're going to go in reverse order. So Allie, I'm going to ask you to start us off.
Well, I'm starting off the season on a very positive note, which is not like me. But this is an absolute buy for me. I have seen this multiple times. I will always watch it if it's on, you know, like TBS, or I'm flipping through channels. Watching it again for this podcast recording just reminded me how I don't skip anything. I love this movie. As I said earlier, I quote it, many quotes from it on a fairly regular basis, even 20 years later. So if that's not the mark of a movie that you would want to buy, I don't know what is. So that's a hard and strong buy for me.
Awesome.
It is a hard buy. Yeah, I don't own it yet. I should own it.
I should own it.
I watched it a couple of months ago, actually, with friends, and it had been like, I don't know, probably at least 10 years since I had seen it. It just holds up. Like, there is not a slow moment. It is so freaking well paced. The dialogue is great. I mean, there's nothing wrong with this movie. Absolutely nothing wrong with this film. Like, it should be in the top 100. Is the AFC? Is that what it is?
The AFI.
AFI's top 100. This is a perfect movie. It literally is a perfect movie.
I wonder if it's there. I don't know if it is or not. I didn't even look at it.
If it's not, it should be.
Yeah.
It probably should. It's probably not, but it probably should be. I am also this is an already own for me. I don't need to buy it because I already own it. I almost watched it again after I watched it last week. I almost watched it again just for the audio commentary to see what everyone would say about it, because that could be some good content for the pod, but I have not done that yet. But I have it. I can always watch it with the audio commentary on top, and someday I might, just because you're right. The mechanics of filmmaking, I would love to hear some of the thought that kind of goes behind this. So we're back with a bang with a triple buy.
Wow.
That hardly ever happens to us, folks.
Yes.
But you know, some movies are just they deserve it.
Yeah.
They're great.
Mm-hmm.
We are going to be back in a week with a Coen Brothers movie that I have never seen.
Never. I don't know that I've even heard of it.
Called The Man Who Wasn't There. I did see recently somebody was ranking all of the Coen Brothers movies, and then everyone's like, no, I would put my ranking here. I would put my ranking here. The Man Who Wasn't There was consistently in the top 10 for a lot of these people who've seen all the Coen Brothers movies and were ranking them all.
That's a joke. All the Coen Brothers
which,
movies.
you know, because Coen Brothers, I mean, they have a very, you know, diverse oeuvre.
Yeah.
And yet, you know, this movie is kind of, it's one of those, the jive that I got was it's very underappreciated. So we're gonna give it a whirl. We're gonna see what is it Billy Bob Thornton? Is that who's the lead?
I honestly have no idea.
Okay.
I picked it because it was a Coen Brothers
picked
film.
this movie.
I did.
Also, you could probably tell this was a Matt pick. Matt loves an obscure movie.
Yeah, he was like, let's try this. And it's like, sometimes it works really well, and sometimes, you know, but you know what? I think we're always fun to listen to, even if we don't. Sometimes we're more fun to listen to if we don't like something.
That's true.
And we admit it even if we picked it.
That's true. But
hopefully
you enjoyed this episode anyway, even though we all loved it. Great to see all of you back again.
Yes.
I am Eric.
I'm Allie.
I'm Matt.
We'll see you next time. Be kind. Rewind.
You've been listening to The Rewind Project. You can find us wherever you get your podcasts, including Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Radio Public, and Google Play. Please subscribe and rate us. It helps a lot. We love your comments and questions. You can find us on Facebook, Twitter, and via our new phone number 202 618 2402. Thanks for listening. Be kind. Rewind.
They basically said it's the moon of the sun. Like everybody else is a planet, but it's a moon. It's basically what they've said.
Oh.
Just because it's a rock?
I think
I mean,
so,
we're a moon
yeah.
of the sun. What the fuck does that mean?
I mean, but like planets get respect, but like a dwarf planet, it's like they're saying it's a moon. It's
okay. It's the Meg of the solar system.
Meg.